All right, let's welcome back to Straight Fire. Guy I've known for, I don't know, 15 years, worked with him at the big lead. He was at the New York Post. He's now at Front Office Sports, covers the media. He is a shareholder. Yes, that's right. Shareholder in the Green Bay Packers, Ryan Glasspiegel. How we doing, Glasspiegel?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Great to be on as always.
Yeah, now it's weird. He lives in Chicago. I hope you don't mind me saying that. But he's a
No.
hardcore Green Bay Packers fan. So I get the two confused a lot. And obviously, the Packers are falling on hard times. Let's just quickly start with this Jordan Love, LaFleur. You got the Jacobs injury, the Tucker Kraft injury, the Bears leading the division. Make sense of it for me.
Okay, so the Packers are one of those teams that can literally beat anybody in the league and literally lose to anybody in the league. It's kind of a wild dichotomy, and it almost like doesn't really make a difference who they're playing on any given Sunday or in this era Thursday or Monday. They could beat or lose anybody based on how well they play. And so they've had some struggles, as you pointed out, but they are 6-3-1. Like you guys talk about that on the herd all the time. Like, who are these teams that are winning pretty every week? The Eagles, the Broncos win ugly. The Packers most certainly win ugly, even when they do pull it out. But yeah, they've had an interesting type of season because they started out, they killed the Lions and the
Mhm.
Commanders 2-0 off the Micah Parsons trade. They're the favorites in the NFC. Then they've dropped games to the Browns and the Panthers. They tied the
Yeesh.
Cowboys in a game where they were big favorites. It's just like kind of, they beat the Steelers and Aaron Rodgers on the road in Pittsburgh in prime time. It's not an easy environment to win in, but
Eh.
okay.
Steelers aren't good. I guess the problem is the Packers have 7 games left.
Yeah,
Five of them are in the division. So
right.
they could literally win the division or miss the playoffs.
Yeah,
They're
a lot of it's going to come. Obviously, the Bears have a 7-3 record, but their schedule gets a little bit trickier from here. They've got this Thanksgiving showdown against the Lions, but
huge.
if you want to like talk about like kind of where the Packers' issues are, I think the injuries affect everybody in the NFL, but they lost Tucker Kraft for the year. He's this electric young tight end. He's probably their third most important player that they couldn't lose after Jordan Love and Micah Parsons. They lost him.
Wow. Third
Yeah.
over Jacobs?
Yeah, I mean, Jacobs went down. They played fine in the second half.
What about Cooper, the linebacker?
He's good too, but the offense without Kraft has just been.
Well, that's the thing. Like, I mean, before the season, Tucker Kraft wasn't considered like a top five tight end, was he? I
No,
don't think
I mean,
anybody thought he was anything
I bet
special.
his season over yardage props. He's like a week or
Ooh,
two away of getting it, and like
no.
Halloween, and then goes out for the year. But I mean, so they lost him. They lost Jaden Reed at the beginning of the year. I think he's their top receiver. I mean, they kind of have like a wide receiver by committee approach where you don't know whether Reed or Dobbs or Watson is their top receiver. They added Matthew Golden and Savion Williams. They're coming on, but like losing Reed was, I think he's their leading pass catcher last year. Was a big deal. Their offensive line, this is what has been very unpacker like this year, is their offensive line has not been good. I mean, you look at like the stats on like how far Josh Jacobs goes before he's touched. They signed Aaron Banks for 4 years, 77 million out of the
Bust.
49ers. He hasn't been great. Zach Tom, who's important, has been in and out with injuries. They lost their center probably for the season, at least for the regular season, Elgton Jenkins, this past week. So their offensive line has been problematic. And then there's just a weird thing where um Matt LaFleur has been hesitant to let Jordan Love air it out. And there's like a very kind of weird thing where like the national pundits who watch the Packers on Red Zone are like, Jordan Love is just okay. And then the stat nerds and the Packers
Yeah.
fans are like, he's elite. Look at his PFF stats. Look at his EPA. And,
Yeah.
people are like, no, I know what I saw. But it's just like kind of one of those age old debates. But if it just doesn't seem like they are airing it out with him. And you can say, okay, well, it's not that Matt LaFleur doesn't trust Jordan Love, it's that he doesn't trust the offensive line. But, every once in a while, Love has shown this proclivity to throw the dumbest interception ever. You
Yeah.
saw that in that Browns game. They lost the Browns game for a number of reasons, but one of them was just an absolutely abominable interception that Love threw. And so it's always kind of in your back of your mind. It's like LaFleur holding back because he's concerned about this type of decision making. And we're never going to get a straight answer. So it's just going to go on and on and on in circles.
So proverbial gun to the head. Who's coming out of the NFC?
I mean, you'd have to think the Eagles just on
Yeah.
the fact that they've done it before. They have the best record. Their defense looks incredible. Uh, their offense is very strange what's going on. How like they have all of these great pieces, but they're not moving the ball. And then Lane Johnson goes down, and we see
Yeah.
all those stats about how icky the Eagles' offense is without him, and how legendary he has been. But it's such an advantage that if you can get to 3rd and 2, you have a first down. They need 8 yards on the first 2 plays for a first down, and no other team has that in their back pocket.
Yeah.
For all the talk about banning the tush push or whatever, they're the only team that executes it perfectly every time. We've seen probably 15 other NFL teams try it, and without the same astounding rate of success.
Yeah.
And so, they get to 3rd and 2, you can just write it in Sharpie that they're getting a first down. If not on 3rd down, then they'll do it again on 4th and pick it up there.
Yeah. And so AFC, you'd have facing the potential Eagles in the Super Bowl. AFC is a little more muddled because
Oh,
not
it's
many
such a
people
mess. I don't know how
buy
you could know.
nobody buys the Colts. I think people are nervous about the Patriots
Yeah,
with
the
such a
Bills
young quarterback.
defense couldn't stop a cold. The
Just don't
the
say the Chiefs.
AFC is
Whatever
a
you do,
AFC is a
don't say the
crapshoot. I
Chiefs.
mean, it really is a roulette wheel. Just put a chip on someone and hope it lands.
Yeah, it's kind of a long shot. All right, let's pivot from the NFL to the NBA. So, obviously, you're a big NBA guy. Back in the day, me, you, and Vic, we did a nightly NBA bet, which was fun, or prop side, prop total, whatever. So I know you're big on the NBA. Obviously, Wembanyama going down stinks, but a door closes, a window opens. Here comes LeBron. He may or may not. We're recording this on Tuesday afternoon.
He's playing
LeBron
tonight.
may
They announced that Sham said he intends to play tonight.
intends. Okay, so LeBron is back. So Wemby's out, LeBron in. I think it's been a great season. Some of these numbers on the ratings are through the roof. Now, I don't have you looked at the numbers and what do you attribute that
They,
to?
they started
Assuming
they started out really strong. Getting back on NBC is a massive deal. First of all, like NBC is great production know-how. You read these like media nerd stories, they actually like have a better picture than any other network, which is I don't know. I don't have a good enough
wait,
TV.
what does that mean?
Like they do, I don't know if it's
The
like
crispness of
or
the
what. No,
colors?
they have a better picture. Like they use better cameras, and their
Oh,
their production has like a better picture than any of the other networks.
oh,
It's been like documented or whatever. But so they've got that, and it just always feels like a crisp picture on NBC. And you've got like Tarico, who's just a pro's
he's
pro, and
freaking good.
the NBA on NBC theme music. You've got a few minutes of Jordan. Makes
Oh,
it feel big, even like if it's like, okay, yeah, you recorded one interview in your house, and then you're complaining about load management, but like it's still he's got this like majestic aura that when you see him, it really does make it feel big and special. And not only that, I mean, NBC is just distributed much better than TNT is. It's in 15 or 20 million more homes. It's if for people like me who are boomers who still have cable and you flip to 8 different channels, NBC is one of them. TNT for a lot of people fell out of that rotation. They don't have much programming besides the NBA. It's kind of like old reruns of Charmed and Bewitched and whatever. Um,
Charmed. First Charmed reference in the history of the podcast. I thought you were going to say Law and Order SUV or whatever they're
well,
called. I don't watch it
those things make money, but
because
it's
they're cheap. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
they're not like they're not an appointment. Okay, I'm gonna check this channel and see what's on tonight. And NBC has The Voice. They've got NFL, Big Ten, like a lot of college sports. So the news, the local news that people flip to. And so it's an anchored channel and a lot more people watch it. And so the games are better distributed. And then you've got Amazon, which is really like eager to please the sports fan, as still kind of a newcomer on the block. I mean, they're in their
Mm.
fourth year of Thursday night football, but you have to go to Amazon on purpose. It's not in
Yeah.
channel lineup. And so they've put together, you've talked about this a lot. Amazon has put together the anti TNT studio show where it is like basketball positive, X's and O's. You've got like Blake Griffin and Dirk Nowitzki and Taylor Rooks and Udonis Haslam championing the NBA instead of saying how much better it was in the
Oh,
90s.
yeah.
And I like the TNT show, and I think it's actually been refreshing on ESPN. But
Now, I haven't
Amazon,
seen much of it. Wait, well, what's different?
there's nothing different, which is what's refreshing. It's
Oh, oh,
different
oh,
because
oh,
it's
oh.
them. But there were all these questions. Oh, is ESPN going to ruin it? No, they're licensing it from TNT and it's actually the same. So you've got the production on NBC, you've got the positivity on Amazon, and I think that Inside the NBA has been an upgrade from NBA Countdown on ESPN. So
Oh,
uh,
certainly.
you're looking at several different qualitative factors, and like also the ratings have just been adjusted so they go up because they're counting more out of
Mm.
home viewers in their panels. And that's a that's an adjustment that's been happening for 5 years, but they keep pulling the levers at Nielsen and making them go higher. So you add all those factors together, and it has been a positive story for the NBA early in the
Yeah.
season.
Now, I think you and I are in agreement culturally, however you want to define culturally, whether it's um, uh, people buying jerseys, wearing them out and about, social media followings, what people are just talking about when you go to bars or restaurants or wherever. But culturally, I think the NBA is very dominant, right? It is incredible. The ratings haven't necessarily reflected that. There is this weird divide where the NBA is like an urban sport, and in the burbs and in the so to speak heartland, they don't love the NBA. There's not a lot of teams there. The Deep South doesn't have a lot of teams. That's football country. But it's interesting. You and Ethan on your guys' show have talked about how the MLB is passing the NBA when you compare ratings from an incredible World Series, probably the best in the last 20 years, to the NBA. I pushed back a little, but I want you to kind of set the table on why you think Major League Baseball is allegedly the number two sport in the country.
There's a lot of reasons. So first of all, yeah, the World Series is beat the NBA Finals in the ratings the last 2 years, and I believe 8 of the last 10. It's been like a pretty resounding trend at this point ever since the LeBron versus Warriors rivalry fizzled out. Yeah, but yeah, that's the World Series. The nationally, I think you're not gonna get too many arguments from people that the ratings for NBA games are generally better than MLB. Like, we talked about how they've been in the early season. Nobody watches those like regular, not nobody, but like on TBS or MLB Network or ESPN, like you might get like a million and a half for a Sunday night baseball game, but there's bigger numbers for NBA regular season nationally, and then you can sketch that out. There's a lot more playoff tonnage. The series are longer, more teams make it, so they definitely have bigger national TV viewership. But in regions where the like there's an NBA and an MLB team, a lot of the in the local ratings on a per game basis, the MLB teams are beating the NBA teams head to head. I
So,
did
for
this.
instance, hold on. So, for instance, like Brewers versus Bucks.
Yeah, way more people will watch a Brewers game per game, and there's twice as many games.
Now, forgive me for asking. I'm going to sound like an idiot. How good were the Brewers this year? They were pretty good, right?
Yeah, I mean I think they set a franchise record for wins. They had the best record in baseball. But
Right. So
yeah,
the
the
Brewers
Bucks
had a
aren't
great
like
season.
slouches. They've won an NBA championship with Giannis. They still have him. They're in the playoff mix every year. They haven't done well in the playoffs since they won, but
I mean, part of the argue for that, the local stuff, is in the summer there's no competition. There is literally no live sports from, I guess, June. Like if your local NBA team is eliminated, May, June, July, August, there is no competition, right?
Yeah, but
It's
we
just
had a
baseball.
control variable for this. So you remember during the pandemic, they had the bubble playoffs, which like stretched into October. And then the next year, the season started late and the
Horrible.
NBA finals went into the midsummer and
Terrible. Yeah.
people like didn't respond to
Well,
NBA
wait, wasn't that the
games.
Heat Nuggets final?
Yeah, but it used, Mark Cuban and people used to say, oh, let's start the season at Christmas and go into July when we have less competition. They tried that the year after the bubble. It didn't work. The playoff ratings weren't good
Horrible.
versus when people had them on their natural calendars. So I think I would dispute the okay, no competition in the summer thing.
Well, the only pushback on that is it's like out of character. Like you're used to
Okay,
the
there's
NFL
no
season.
competition on TV, but like more people are watching TV in the winter because they're in their homes and they're
They're
not
hibernating.
outside. Not
That's
everyone
fair.
lives in Manhattan Beach and can go sit on a patio tonight for dinner. So the like and then on a per game basis, MLB kills NBA in attendance. It's probably
Yeah.
1.5x. And then they've got twice as many games again. So you're getting 3 times as many people through the turnstiles. And I understand that an NBA courtside ticket and the lower bowl between the baskets, those tickets cost a fortune. And baseball does not compete with that. So you on the gate, they're getting the affluent buyer. But you mentioned something about NBA being an urban sport. I might push back on that a little based on what I said about the local TV ratings head to head. Where the NBA really cleans up, Jason, is these rural-ish outposts like Oklahoma City, Salt Lake City, Memphis, where it's the only game in town and they're not competing with other sports teams for the fans' emotions. And so, it's a very like interesting question. I think the NBA makes more money in America by virtue of this national TV deal, but it's a closer race for what's actually the second most popular um professional sport behind the NFL, which is many times, many factors over more popular than both the NBA and MLB, and even combined. But like in the race for the proverbial second place, I think it's closer than what some people might suspect based on like what the national talk shows talk about or the jerseys you see or whatever.
So, national talk shows. I mean, listen, other than the MLB postseason, there's like literally no MLB talk during the season. Maybe you get, hey, this guy's got a 27 game hitting streak or
Well,
10 wins in a row. That
the
kind
other
of.
advantage the MLB has, and this has been a point you've made a long time, is the dynasty. So the Dodgers right now are a behemoth. The Yankees are always in the mix. The Mets and Cubs should be in the mix based on their resources. The Red Sox should be in the mix. And where the NBA with this like second apron, it's really turned into an anti-dynasty league. We've had
I
how
hate
many
that
straight
so
years
much.
of new
Yeah.
champions? Like you basically, if you win a championship, you're gonna lose your third best player, right? And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
it's a tricky thing where there's not a lot of continuity in the NBA, and you have these like players who I can't name who are signing like $30 million a year deals, and they just basically become like interchangeable trade widgets. And
Yeah.
it's like I don't know, it's a very odd, peculiar system that the NBA has right now with its competition, and then you compound that with like all of the 3-point shooting and the erosion of like the mid-range jumper, and you want to see the mid-range, you want to see action at the rim, but you know that the math on the mid-range is bad. And so that I think like the NBA needs to do something like what the MLB did, where MLB hired Theo Epstein and said, "Hey, you helped break the aesthetics of the game. Now help fix them." And the NBA needs to bring in someone like Daryl Morey to do something like that and be like, how can we undo some of these analytics and make it so the game is more aesthetically pleasing to watch?
But it's so weird. So all these, and again, I'm not saying those are complaints, but all these, let's say criticisms. And yet,
I'm not
if you
complaining.
look at social media followings for, and I just punched it up. So LeBron is over 150 million on Instagram, right?
Uh-huh.
He's by far the most in the NBA. He's been around forever. Shohei Ohtani leads baseball. He's got 9 million. So
Does
you could
Shohei
find,
even post? I don't think he
I,
even posts.
yeah, he probably does like
None of
his
the
family.
baseball players are like prolific social media posters. And by the way, like the when we were doing the big lead and like following all of these like player social accounts, they used to do their own and it was like gritty and they would,
Yeah, now
they
it's like a
had a lot
business. Yeah.
of there was a lot of like interest because it was like actually their authentic way of communicating with the public, whether that was like pretty or what. But now it's just like they all have like the same 8 social media managers and all of their content looks
Yeah.
the same on
So
Instagram.
let me update. Otani actually is now over 10 million followers. But
Wow.
again, and he does do some posts. But this is the cultural part that I can't get. Shohei Otani is a global star. Everybody knows him. He
Uh-huh.
has fewer Instagram followers than LaMelo Ball, who has 10.5 million. Now, what does that mean?
It means
But and that's
LaMelo Ball probably bought followers.
he might have, but I wonder around the globe. Like, here's the big thing. Like, again, in Europe, basketball is huge. There are tons of leagues. People go over there to play. Hell, the Ball brothers went over there to play.
Uh-huh.
Basketball's big. Baseball is a non-starter in Europe.
Or
I mean,
Japan. Yes.
that's Asia. That's Asia. But like in Asia, yes, it's big. But basketball's massive in Asia. Remember the Yao Ming impact. And then you look around the globe, and basketball's massive, and baseball just doesn't have that clout. Cricket soaks up a lot of baseball because cricket's huge on the other side of the globe. But there
I
really
mean,
is. Go ahead.
I I don't know. I just don't care. Like I don't care whether people in Europe watch baseball or
But
football.
but Ryan, we have our phones and we walk around and our phones are attached to our hip. I don't know how if you check your phone, but like I'm sure you have at least 9 hours a day spent on your phone, maybe more.
Yes.
My
Yeah.
kids make fun of me because of that. So you're on your phone the most. And these apps, Instagram, wildly popular, Facebook, whatever, and they're dominated by NBA players. Does that mean nothing?
Okay. I
Or
mean,
what does it mean?
how many followers does Patrick Mahomes
There
have on?
you that's another point. I would
Like
argue
way
culturally.
more people. The NFL is way more popular than the NBA.
Well, on television, yes, but I would argue culturally, where all the young people hang out, all the young people are online on apps, that I think culturally, basketball is the number one sport in America among young people online. Now, that does not, obviously, TV viewing is totally different. The Super Bowl is an
I'm
event.
sure it's bigger than soccer. Like when
Soccer globally, yes, but in
I see
America, I
in
would.
America, I see more kids in soccer jerseys than any other sport. Like when I go to my kids' playground.
So okay, fine. Soccer, basketball. I would say they're toe to toe. But again, I don't know what that means because we have all these guys out there with the dog whistles claiming NBA's dying woke and all this nonsense. And I'm like, that's just not reality. Just because you and your like followers don't like it, the reality is that sport is immensely popular. What was
Yeah,
their
at
TV
some
deal?
point though, like
75 million billion?
you have to judge it based on how many not people like watch the actual competition, not highlights of the
But
competition.
that's the thing.
Not
Young people don't watch anything.
and
Look at
see.
the numbers at the box office. Have you seen movies this year? Like nobody's going to the cinema. Absolutely nobody. But go look at clips from last night's NBA games and you get millions of views. It's I
I
mean, I
mean,
just think
I guess like if we're you're right. We're transferring into this short-term bite-sized world, and the NBA is particularly
perfect for it.
equipped for that. That's totally fair.
Is that good or bad though? I don't know
I
the
don't know,
answer.
probably bad, but what could we do about it? Nothing.
No. We could try to profit off it ourselves
Right.
as we both have been doing for 15, 20 years because we like sports. But yeah, so here's like a guy like let's see, Jimmy Butler has as many followers as Otani. Like Jimmy Butler could walk down my mom's street and she would have no idea who that guy is. She would know Otani. But we're just in a weird place because social media distorts things so much. So I guess going back to the original question, how do you define popular, Ryan?
I mean, I think I define popular as how many people intentionally engage with the product. And I think these social media algorithms can skew our perspective
Mm.
on things because the thumb is on the scale of them in favor of some things and out of favor with others. And yes, some of it is based on what you follow and what you like and all those things, but then some of it is just the people who operate YouTube or Instagram or Twitter have pet causes and divert more eyeballs to them. We've
Yeah,
seen
and
that.
it's divisive. I think basketball is very divisive with the rankings and the history. Baseball, there isn't really that other than like, is Otani the best player of all time? You don't get as many debates, if you will, on Major League Baseball. I do want to pivot and we can wrap up. So obviously Ryan's a big gambler. You know, we talk about betting. He's pretty good. You know, I've known him a while. I'll vouch for him. I think he's a good gambler. But here's the thing: I read an article, I think I sent it to you, about how FanDuel and DraftKings recently walked out of a big gambling conference that had
Yeah.
to do with this whole Polymarket um, situation that's developing. Now, I will be 1,000% honest, guys. I do not pay any attention, or I haven't really, to Polymarket. The first time I really became aware of all of that stuff was during the election when it was saying Trump was going to win. And I was like, no, look at all these numbers. Harris is going to win, and Harris gets smoked. And that's when I was like, oh, maybe I should pay attention. But then football happens, life gets in the way. You don't pay attention. So are you up to speed on all this Polymarket stuff?
Yeah,
How much do you pay attention to
a
it?
lot.
And do you think it usurps like the gambling websites?
Okay, so I gotta take it back a little bit to explain what this is, because if you don't know what these prediction markets are, I can't just like jump in the middle of the movie. Like the so before the election, as you said, this exchange called Kalshi, what they had sued the CFTC in federal court for the right to be able to offer elections betting in the 2024 election, and then they won. And so they offered that. And then this past January, they started dipping their toes into sports betting, and no one really stopped them. They just bet on all they put up was who will win the Super Bowl. Will it be the Chiefs or the Eagles? And so all of a sudden, that has now yielded way to they offer player props, they offer point spreads, they offer
Oh, wait, hold on. Let's back up.
futures.
Let me. So when they say who's going to win, Chiefs or Eagles, you can then go bet on who's going to win.
Yeah, they were offering money line bets on the Super Bowl.
Okay, so if they're not the house, right?
Uh-huh.
Talk me through that process.
Okay,
Who
so
who is the house?
the house on these gambling on these prediction markets is usually like the Wall Street trading firms. So Susquehanna, look them up, SIG. They are what's called like they provide liquidity, as they call it, to Kalshi and Polymarket. And so Kalshi is also now has integrated with Robinhood, and so you can
Oh
go
gosh.
and bet on football games in your Robinhood account. And so your next question is, well, how is this legal? And it's kind of dubious because they say it is, and the traditional casinos and sports books and the states that take taxes from them say they're not. So Kalshi and Robinhood and crypto.com are getting sued in a bunch of states. They've countersued. It's tied up in court, but they remain at the moment in legal operation. And so the other wrinkle in this is that the Trump administration has signaled that go for it. You know, Donald Trump Jr. is a strategic advisor to Kalshi and an investor in Polymarket. They
Oh
tried to
gosh.
nominate someone to be in charge of the CFTC who was on the Kalshi board. The Winklevoss twins, of all people, got him booted off over some other gripe that I don't even know the details of. But like the Trump administration is on the side of you should be able to use Kalshi and Polymarket to bet on sports in any state.
I would assume they're somehow profiting, right?
Well, I told you, Don Jr. is a strategic advisor
Yeah.
to Kalshi, so he's on their payroll, and then he's an investor in Polymarket. So,
Jeez, that sounds
um,
very, very above board. Yeah, very
okay,
much.
so now we get to FanDuel and DraftKings. They see it as, wait a minute, we have to pay these exorbitant taxes in states like Illinois and New York. We have to fight through the gills for licensure. And now all of a sudden you can just bet on football in Robinhood when we're not even allowed to be there. And so FanDuel partnered with the Chicago Mercantile Exchange, which is for where for like hundreds of years you've been able to like bet on commodities. Like, I think that like Trading Places was set at the CME, or
Oh
if it
yeah.
wasn't, it was something like it. And maybe it was the CBOE, but it's like a commodities exchange, and FanDuel is partnering with them. DraftKings bought an exchange called Railbird Exchange, and they are going to be partnering with Polymarket to clear their trades. And so what happened yesterday, what Jason was referring to, is FanDuel and DraftKings pulled out of the American Gaming Association, which is a gambling company lobbying firm, based on a disagreement over prediction markets. So the traditional casinos and sports books don't want these prediction
No, hell no.
want to keep what they have in the states where they have them. But FanDuel and DraftKings are looking and seeing, especially California and Texas, and saying, we want those populations betting on sports, and we don't want Kalshi and Robinhood to pick up all of these customers before we even have a chance to go there. And so
Yeah.
Kalshi has been offering, and Robinhood have been offering football bets all season in California legally.
Yeah, yeah. So hold on, I'm looking at it right now, just to give it for an example, right? So I'm looking offshore, and currently for Thursday Night Football, Bills are -6 against the Texans. So I'm on Kalshi, and it says Buffalo. Now this is weird. Have you? I don't
Yeah.
know. I've done zero of this. So, but it says Buffalo wins by over 6.5. So the line is inflated from
Well,
offshore.
you don't know what the vig on the prices are, and you
Well,
can
I
adjust.
just put in a basic $100 bet to the Buffalo Bills win by over 6.5 points. I put $100, and it says the payout is $205 if the Bills cover six and a
Right.
half.
So it's -6.5 plus 105
Right,
instead of -110.
right.
So
So I would say I don't want 6.5. I want 6. Now,
you
is
can
that even
adjust the
allowed?
lines.
Huh?
You can adjust the lines in Kalshi.
Yeah. See, I'm not signed in. I don't have a account, so I guess yeah, that's just so it's not letting me do that. It appears, but you can adjust, and then okay, interesting. So yeah, this is 100,000% gambling.
Right. But they say it is they are saying that it's like betting on a futures contract in commodities. That's the like technicality that they're using, basically. They're saying like,
Mhm.
if you can bet on the price of corn, why can't you bet on the result of a football game? And so far they haven't been stopped, but it is like an ongoing legal dispute in a number of states that seems like it's going to reach the Supreme Court, and then we'll see.
Hmm. So again, I'm not telling the audience they should, do this. I obviously will as an aside, I refuse to give a cent to Robinhood. I don't feel like it's a good organization. I feel like it's extremely dirty. So I will not go there. I'm looking at Kalshi. Let me ask you, Ryan, like what has been your experience with it?
My experience is that I've lost a little bit because I had bet on Kamala thinking like, okay, it's just a bunch of like risk-seeking men
Yep.
betting on Trump. And I thought that maybe there was like a betting edge on betting on Kamala for president, and I lost. So it's wrong. Um
But for
and
sports, how about sports?
I've gone up and down. I think I'm probably net a little bit down. I hit a big They had the best line last week on Davis Allen to score a touchdown for the Rams. So
Oh,
I put
jeez.
like I don't know, I think it was like $143 at like probably about 9-1 last week on him, and he was like probably 7.5-1 everywhere else on like FanDuel and DraftKings. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna take the extra bet here. But then I've lost a good amount of that back since then on other prices where they had the best line. So I think I'm probably net down like a little bit on Kalshi.
But it is interesting. You're checking other markets compared to Kalshi,
Right. I mean,
and
I have accounts on every legal book in Illinois plus Kalshi, and so I will always take the best line because the lines can differ by like
yeah.
20 or 30%. If you're getting bad prices in gambling, you're gonna lose.
for
I
sure.
much more bet markets than bet my feel when I'm betting on sports.
Mm.
It's and like there are a lot of books that don't frankly let me bet with them. Like Rivers doesn't let me bet with them. ESPN doesn't let me bet with them.
Well, if you win, they're gonna cut you off.
Right.
Is that the same? Does the same apply to
No,
Kalshi?
no,
I haven't.
On Kalshi they will not cut you off because you're trading against sharks on Kalshi. They do not limit you. They have high limits.
So then that's interesting. I got to be honest. I haven't talked this much about prediction markets with anyone ever, and I mean the way you say it makes it sound like, geez, why would I gamble
Well,
offshore?
you're betting against Sig. Like these people are like you're betting against like a 32-year-old Yale computer science major if you're betting on Kalshi. Like on the prediction markets, like I mean, I
But
know
you
that's
don't think those guys are betting NFL everywhere else too?
no, well, they're supplying the liquidity. Like that,
That's the fund you're talking about.
yeah.
Oh, hmm.
So you're betting against the people who work for these sophisticated Wall Street trading firms on Kalshi versus you're betting against bookmakers on the sports books.
Who built casinos and towers in the desert? I mean, it's similar. Obviously, they have their algorithms as well, right?
Well, I think that like the FanDuel and DraftKings are more based on they want to just get like they want to get the whales in there and everyone else is kind of like a filter in the net.
Mm. And you're saying Kalshi does the same doesn't apply.
Kalshi is probably more sophisticated lines making. They generally do have worse. They usually have worse prices than FanDuel and DraftKings, and that's because they know that they're available and to a lot of people in this country who don't have FanDuel and
Mm.
DraftKings available to them. So
So maybe the move is to look at Kalshi, see which way things are leaning, and then go elsewhere and
you
get your
can
bet
do
in.
that, yes.
Yeah, that seems like the smarter play. I'm not advocating any of this. I don't want anybody to lose their shirt. But it definitely sounds like FanDuel and DraftKings have their work cut out for
And
them.
by the way, Polymarket is like it's been any day now for a couple months where they're going to be live in the United States and all of a sudden they're going to be here too. Like they have been not licensed in the US for a number of years, but they regained their licensure and they just haven't flipped the on switch, but that's coming. It could like by the time this posts it could come. I don't know. It could be
Mm.
tomorrow, it could be 5 months, but Polymarket is about to enter the American
Yeah.
gambling arms race in a big way.
And we should add that Ryan and I probably both agree that the way to accumulate some wealth is slow and steady and smart investments.
Yes,
And everything we just talked about is
yes, this is for
fun and
entertainment.
entertainment. I
Yeah,
do. I think it would be dumb.
I'm up like in like 4 or 5 years. I'm up like low five figures betting on sports. So I have made some money, but if I'd spent all the time I have spent sports betting, like
Starting a
delivering
business, Ryan.
DoorDash,
Come
I would
on.
have made more money than I made betting
Yeah.
sports.
Listen,
It's
this is
not
fun
some
and
type of
entertainment.
like lucrative money making gambit for me.
Yeah. I just don't want people thinking gambling's the way to get ahead. And that's not real. All right. Ryan Glasspiegel, front office sports.
Great to
You got
talk
an
with
NFL,
you.
wait, you got an NFL winner for this weekend?
Oh, I haven't really looked yet.
Yeah, it is early in the
All
week.
right, I'll give you my thing. Every week I bet on Ray Davis and Ty Johnson, the two backup running backs on the Bills to score one touchdown and two touchdown. One of them have scored in like the last like 3 or 4 weeks, maybe 3 out of 4. Like Ty Johnson has two, Ray Davis has one, but each of them are priced at like 8 or 10 to 1 every week to score a touchdown. And then if you can get them at two touchdowns, it's usually like 100 or a 125 to 1. I've never hit that, but one day it's going to happen.
Wait a minute. Why? So is James Cook dying or something? I have him on my fantasy
They
team. I need to
no,
know.
but like they're weird. Like they put it first of all, Ty Johnson caught that ball at 50-yard line and
I
broke
saw.
it for a
Yeah.
touchdown on Sunday. If like they and like he earlier in the game before he scored that touchdown, he got a carry from the three. He didn't score, but if he had scored that one and then the butterfly effect didn't happen and then he did get that 50-yard catch for a touchdown, I would have won 9 grand on a $50
Mm.
bet. I
Yeah.
didn't, but it's gonna happen one day.
Yeah. Sure. Sure. There's like a lot. You're going to win the lottery too. My son and I both have James Cook in fantasy, so I feel like that would be kind of counterproductive to be betting and hoping for those guys to score. We need James Cook to win
Ray
the
Davis
championship.
also returns kicks, but like you got to be careful because some books count
Don't count
kickoff
that. Yeah.
returns for touchdowns as the player. Some of them count them as the defense special teams. So you got to
Yeah.
make sure you know the rules of what you're betting on these.
All right, Glasspiegel, good guy, good journalist. Keep up the good work, Ryan. Thanks,
All
man.
right. Thanks, Jason. Appreciate you.